Garden design principles apply equally to wide, shallow gardens as they do to all gardens. And before you even sit down to draw a plan, there is one thing you must do, and that's make a list of everything you want to do in your garden and everything you want from your garden. That includes, do you want a children's play area? Do you want a dining area? Do you want to grow vegetables? Do you want to have a place where you can sit and read? Do you want to sunbathe? Are there privacy issues? Do you need more storage? So just think about all of that. And then the other thing you need to do is to go out into your garden with a chair and just sit there and look back at the house. What do you want to see when you look back at the house? And then go to the house and look at the garden from the house. It's Alexandra here from the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel and blog, and I'm going to talk to garden designer Posy Gentles on how she has transformed Andrea and Karen's wide, shallow garden from a strip of lawn and a bit of fence to something that is really stylish and inviting. So Posy, tell me how you approached this garden.
Andrea and Karen's garden was very wide, wider than it was long, and they have at the back a huge glass window. When I first saw it, they'd made a terrace which went across the garden. It seemed almost halfway up. There was a tiny little raised bed in the corner and a shed near the house. So the first thing I thought, of course, was get rid of the shed and move it to the far corner, take it away from the house. And I forgot to say, the best thing about the garden was there were two mature trees, a quince and an apple, just the other side of the terrace. So we moved the shed to the far corner and took the terrace just slightly back. We took a row of the pavers out, and I decided to divide the garden into three crossways. So I made a little path that started, it was a complementary paving, but a small brick paver that complemented the slate of the terrace and came into the terrace and went up into the garden, so it kind of joined the two together. And there was a little path that joined them at the top. So in one corner we had the shed, the other corner was a sunny evening corner, so we decided to make that an area for evening gin and tonics. Then we used planting to catch one's eye, so you didn't just immediately go to the end. We decided to paint the fence, which went all the way around the garden, a dark colour. So we chose anthracite, which was the same colour as the window frames. So it looked almost black, but this had the effect of making the boundaries appear to vanish. Then, with the planting, I decided to plant all around the two trees so that the flowers were close to where you would sit on the terrace rather than stuck at the other end of the garden. This also meant that when you were sitting in the kitchen looking out of these vast glass windows, the plants were near you. The interest of the garden was near the house rather than stuck in the corner. Then, in the first third in front of the drinks area, we planted shrubs so it gave a natural barrier, and when you were looking out of the window, although you could really see all the garden, the shrubs in front of things like that area and the shed made you see the planting before you looked beyond that. With the central area, we had the main border right in front of the terrace, then it went back, and then we had another area which the path went behind, and there was the back gate there. So we kind of concealed the back gate, but there was a path to it. Because the planting was staggered, it gave the effect of a longer garden.
My mother always used to think that in order to make something seem longer, you take everything out of it. But of course, that's the worst mistake, really.
Yes, because then your eye hits the back fence before you've minted. And also having little areas which provide a journey. They say it's a journey, and it kind of is. You go up the path and then round the shrubs, and you can take your evening drink there, or you go up the path, round the shrubs, and there's the shed. Well, on the left-hand side, you go up the path through the borders to begin with, because we had a semicircle to stop it for the border, the main border, to stop it all looking square and blocky. And the path goes through that, so you have a little bit of walking through, then through the grass, and then round some shrubs, and there you have your area for drinking, where we had pots for plants. Then on the other side, there's a path that you go up round the shrubs, and there is the shed with an area at the side where you can put old pots and anything you don't particularly want people to see, which as the planting grows up will become more hidden. And also we did have borders at the edge on either side which extended down into the terrace, because I was very keen to link the terrace with the rest of the garden, because when I arrived it just looked completely divided in two by this big terrace, which is of course useful for eating on and all sorts of things, but I wanted to connect them, so having the paths coming down into the terrace and the borders coming down into the terrace linked the two areas.
People ask, how do you do the layout for a wide garden? And with this one, you've done it into 3 across. And with another garden that we interviewed recently, which was Jo Rutherford's, she had actually put all the planting on the diagonal. And both of those, of course, break up the eye. Are there any other layouts that you'd consider for wide gardens?
Another garden I've done, which is even shorter than this one, again, it's slightly in 3. There's a big sort of area of planting to each side, and then the terrace goes into the planting, so that there's an area of planting at the end by the fence, but the planting then comes all around the terrace. That's a very short garden, but so when you're sitting outside you feel surrounded by plants.
So that's having the seating area in the centre of a shallow wide garden and then planting all around.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to have quite big plants. So as a kind of veil to the end, I used 3 amelanchier, so which veiled the path that goes to the back gate, because you can kind of keep them so they don't get too big. They still have a slightly open look. You can plant underneath them. They are an endlessly useful plant. You might use multi-stemmed birches. I used climbers, but don't worry about that too much. Don't fall for the thing of trying to cover your entire fence or wall, because I think that kind of draws attention to it even more, so have bigger plants in front of it. And I think you want to make areas where you feel you're in the garden, you're comfortable in the garden. I often think it's, people make terraces and then the grass starts, whereas really you want a terrace and then to have your borders and then the grass beyond that, because otherwise you're sitting there and need binoculars to see where the planting is.
There's lots more garden design tips in our garden design playlist at the end of this video, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.